Hey, back again for
Hello.
round two for today. And we have Wandering Weights from Gradients. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for the invite.
So, I guess everyone has within Bittensor has heard of Subnet 56 Gradients. They know, but what they don't know is they haven't really seen much of you. So, do you mind if you share who you are, what you do, and also a little bit about Gradients, please?
Yeah, so I'm Wondering Weights, and I guess I could do the background thing. So my background was ML all the way back, I guess. So I did computer science, then data science, and ML as a PhD. So I went down the whole academic thing. Um, Kind of lost my love for it. We have this big conference, NeurIPS and ICML and all these kinds of things. And it was always like the prize that if you get into those and you're kind of set for life and your life's going to be amazing, roses, fairies, all that kind of stuff. And I did it, and I just felt this kind of empty, but I'm not doing anything real in the world. And so I kind of left academia, then went into industry. First, I was doing kind of machine learning for earth sciences in a multinational company, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then I kind of did sort of consultancy stuff for a while for various different companies, and then finally met Nam, who said, "Hey, listen, we've got this verification problem for Subnet 19. Um, how can we prove that someone's ran the inference that they said they ran?" And we're checking outputs at the time. So this was real early days of 19. And he said, "Oh, can you do better than that? Let's try and see if we can do better than that." And then I didn't know anything about crypto, didn't know anything about Bittensor at the time, and kind of jumped pretty deep in with Nam, and loved my time working on 19 and the verification method stuff. And then 19 did really well as a result of that. And then you kind of get that itch of like, yeah, but I want to build something myself, kind of thing. Um, and at the time we were looking at, this was before detail, and we were kind of looking at it thinking, what could we do that actually is a thing that people use? Because at the time, like, lots of the stuff was like research stuff, and I love the research side, I didn't want to knock it. But like, we still have this amazing front end guy, who makes beautiful front ends. And we're like, we're building products here. We're not building research stuff. Like, research stuff needs to be moving to product space. But how can we design a subnet on that basis? And so obviously background in ML and stuff. So I thought, well, training is the thing, right? And I did like Kaggle back in the day as well. I used to think, like, wouldn't it be amazing if we had the data set and you could just upload it somewhere and someone would take care of all the boring stuff. So like the hyperparameter selection, would know something about, given the data set size and the entropy of the outputs and all these kinds of fancy things you can do that take so much time if you're an ML engineer. Um, can we take all that away and just have that as a front end that you can just upload the data set, choose a model, and it will train, and you know that that training is going to be better than everything else that you could do. So you don't even need to worry about it yourself. Just take away all the boring bits, basically. And that was the idea for Gradients. And so, Gradients 1.0 launched with that, which was basically take any Hugging Face model, any Hugging Face data set, and let miners train on it, and then they fight it out for who can get the lowest loss. That's broadly Gradients 101. There's been quite a few iterations since then, expansion for GRPO, DPO, diffusion models, so you can train image models, you can upload a bunch of images of your NAN, and then you can create more images of your NAN doing silly stuff. So that's kind of where we've got to probably at this stage is, and then as the kind of vision, and then the performance stuff is, to be honest, when we launched, there was a lot of pessimism, I guess, to say, hey, this is too hard for miners. Because at the time, all we were ever asking miners to do was like, run this base code with some compute and make some tiny tweaks. We're saying, hey, miners, go write us an AutoML script. Write us the best AutoML script on the planet, basically, is what we're saying.
Okay.
And I thought they would do well, but I didn't think they'd do as well as they have when you compare with the rest of the market, which is kind of the chart you're showing now, which is beautiful segue.
Yes. So can you explain this chart? First of all, for imagine the average user here, they don't know what a gradient is or the loss.
Yeah.
So can you explain those things and also walk us through this infographic here?
Yeah. So if I said to you, you are an Arabic car salesman business, and you've got a chatbot that you want to be able to understand and sell cars in Arabic, for example. It's a really silly use case, but let's go with that one. The problem at the moment is if you chuck that into ChatGPT, it might have some moral reservations about selling cars. It might not get Arabic very right, and so it wouldn't cut the mustard. And so what you'd have to do at the moment is you'd have to call up, or not call up, you'd have to employ a machine learning engineer at 100K a pop, and say, listen, can you train my car salesman chatbot to be able to do this kind of thing? Or what you could do is you could chuck that in one of these existing providers. So AWS SageMaker, Google Cloud, Vertex AI, Together AI, and the one that's missing off that one is Hugging Face Auto Train. And what we're measuring in terms of what is better is we have like a hidden test set, which is like, here's a conversation that someone's had over this Arabic car salesman business. How close are you hitting to that ground truth that we would like you to hit? And better performance is you're doing better at that conversation, basically. Probabilistically, you are giving us the solution that we want, which is we've given you some solution in the training set, essentially. Or it's test set, but you follow. And so better performance is you're getting closer to what we want you to do. So that does mean that the onus is on the person who's providing the data set to decide what it is that they want them to do. But gradients isn't about deciding what's happening with the data set. Gradients is about saying, you give us a data set and we will make sure that the performance on that data set is the best that it can possibly be compared to the rest of the providers. And so you can see here the performance improvement is over base. So it's over a starting point, which is a base. I think this particular one was Llama 70B. And so how much better can you do on this particular set of examples? And we ran this over loads and loads of experiments. There's a paper on it. I think we did 150 or something ridiculous number of experiments, different providers, different models, different data set sites. So this isn't just we found one selection that works. It's kind of across the board. Gradients is giving you better performance. And in terms of the cost per hour, this is the thing that flummoxed us, which was to train a 70B Llama model on Google. It's $10,000 to train one model. And to us, that first is extortionate because that is pricing out anyone that's even not even remotely enterprise. Secondly, sometimes you need to train these things a few times. So it might be you've got one data set and you kind of, actually maybe we should have put this data in. I'm not paying 10 grand every time to do this.
And you were like $50 or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean ours was too low, so we have to definitely caveat and say we went in too low. We were just literally the reason that we even went for the fiat payment in at the first opportunity we put it in there. The reason we did that is because we essentially wanted to say how much a miner is going to try and gain this, and are we going to find ways of beating that?
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that at a low price point, which we're now confident in that we're not having any of those issues, and then we can ramp up to a high price point and kind of focus on what the market should be. So yeah, we're at $60. The sort of nice spot that we're going to be, I think the announcement's going to be made today or tomorrow. So I think it's going to be $250 for that same model. So that's still substantially less than 10,000, but it's at a place where the revenue makes sense. It's sustainable. It brings profit. Everyone is happy. $60 is not for a large model. Smaller models is fine. So if you look at the diffusion stuff, we are probably a little bit higher than the market, which is Civic AI. But because our performance is better, we think that we can justify that. And we have had lots of, or a substantial amount of business coming through that end on the image side. So, yeah.
So who else then, apart from Arabic car salesmen, who else is spending anything in the order of $10,000 a pop to train their models?
Lots and lots of people, I think. So
Like who?
it depends on the market itself. If you so there are a bunch of market reports that come up with figures of 3 billion, 5 billion for the current market for post-training. But the difficulty I found is in those reports, I couldn't find out where they're getting that information from. So it's kind of pinch of salt. So let's assume that they're completely wrong and it's 1 billion. A large part of that I can know myself is when you go to particularly small startups, when they're starting out, if they have a data set and they want to train on it, but not the expertise, and they can't afford the expertise, they are a prime market. But then when we move into the enterprise side, I'm kind of segueing straight away into 5.0 because I do want to talk about it at some point. But we've been speaking to a large client that I used to work with, who previously would hire ML contractors like me, pay them a decent whack of 50 grand, 100 grand to solve this particular problem. And instead, what they can do is they can use gradients. That's basically where we
Wow.
want to go. That's where we want to focus our attention, which is essentially, and they are any size actually. So you will find, I mean, I don't want to shoot right for the banks, but not far off the banks, as in large companies. The company that I worked with that did earth science, I know that they would use it. If there were other things that we need to solve in order for them to use it, which we can talk about. But anyone that is willing to pay for an ML engineer substantially less for their ML engineer, because I'm not saying they completely lose that, but someone's got to prepare that data set. Someone's got to evaluate what that model looks like at the end and not just trust that Gradients knows exactly what it's doing. We think it does, but a company's not going to do that. But you will no longer need a team of 5 ML engineers, is what we're thinking. You can end up with a team of 1, which would be passing over the really boring stuff, the hyperparameter selection, and it really is tedious to do that stuff, which is essentially like, what knobs do we turn to get the best model?
So simply put then, so machine learning is literally teaching a machine how to do something better than it knows how to do it already. There are all sorts of companies out there at the moment who are spending a lot of money, either $10,000 a pop on services that exist, or they've got their own teams of machine learning specialists in-house. And with Gradients, you're hoping to allow them to streamline their internal team from 5 down to 1, or switch from spending $10,000 a pop with the traditional solutions to $250 a pop with you. And might there be a market for people who have previously been priced out of machine learning that can now do it at $250 a pop?
Exactly that. And just to give an example of that, so one of the companies that we worked with is a wine company that's based in California, and they have a product catalog, and they want an LLM that understands that product catalog. Because at the moment, if you give an LLM, I don't want to get too into the technicals, but essentially LLMs know tokens, they know words, right? And if you introduce a word that doesn't exist, like XR117 is a product code, that means something to the wine business, but it means absolutely nothing to an LLM, and it will be broken down into separate tokens. So it's an absolute nightmare for an LLM to follow that stuff, and it will make things up. But if you train on that, it won't make that up anymore because it knows about that token. It knows what that wine means. So it's like, it's not just Arabic car sales. It's literally anything where bespoke or where you need to get the LLM to do something very specific, or not even very specific, like more. You need to move it in a certain direction. Is the market?
So the market could be basically anybody that's got an employee that wants to replace that employee with a machine that simply needs to train that machine to do what that employee has been doing.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that would be. I mean, we're getting into either dystopia or very exciting sort of futurist sort of side of things. I think, within reason, yeah, within reason. I think we're moving into philosophy there when we start to talk about whether we can replace other people with just a machine, but at least augment their work so that they can work more productively. I think that's a statement that I can be definitely happy with.
So let's say you could have an insurance company or a law firm that wants to basically ring fence their own data and then get inference within the data that they own.
Exactly. That's very valid. That's exactly. But we've had crazy stuff. I mean, I was speaking to a client that was like, that he wanted to upload his own Twitter and his own blog and his own writings, so that when he passes away, his family can interact with him. And for me, that was like, so, but he was like, this is just for me. This is not for. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to make this a product. I just want to be able to pass this on to my grandkids.
I'm doing this as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I joke with my kids that when I'm dead, it's fine. I'll still be on WhatsApp.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you thought replacing employees was a dystopian future.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think it's one of those that, like, there's the clear markets for things there are already a bunch of people that need ML models, and that's huge. It's already, if you look at how many ML engineers are employed, let's say that we can take 10% of those. That's huge market. Then there's the ones that are already using AutoML, and it's a terrible market. We've already shown in performance-wise we're much better. But then there's the stuff that we don't even know what's coming, which is the stuff of like uploading yourself. If that was super easy to do and reasonably priced, how many people would do it? I don't know. But it will be there.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay, so I've got a bit of a better feel now for kind of what you do. So talk to me about the revenues. What revenues have you got flowing in at the moment, and what do you forecast once you've made these changes?
Have just instruct and diffusion, which is just question and answer. Is the stuff that we've opened for revenue. And we've also got diffusion, which is training the image stuff. So we've got these two pockets that are up on the front end that are fiat accepting and have been for about a month and a half, 2 months now.
Yeah.
But what we haven't got on there at the moment is GRPO and DPO, which are two other ways to do training, which are slightly more technical. In the sense of they're in the subnet, but we haven't put them on the front end because we want to make sure that the experience is seamless, and also we want to be sure that the miners are doing as good as they are on instruct. And in terms of numbers, I think I checked just before I jumped on. Last month we had 3,000 customers, and which is reasonable. If each of those were paying the money that Google were charging, they're not. That would be 300K. But it's a reasonable starting point. The issue that we have at the moment is that these are mostly hobbyists. Is when we've been speaking to them, they are mostly people that are going, I want to train a model for my uni stuff, or I want to do it for Kaggle, or I want to do it. These are not enterprise clients, although we're speaking to one, which is why we're moving to 5.0. But going into projection world, which is 5.0 gets released, and just for listeners, that 5.0 is essentially that one of the problems that we have with enterprise clients is that they don't like the idea that they're going to upload their data and they don't know what's happening. They have no idea what's happening, and they just get a model out the other end. And for them, that's too risky. And so the ones that I've spoken to where we've explained what's going to happen with 5.0, they said, yeah, we would go with you if 5.0 is in and matches the same performance as the previous set. And some of those, or one of those, I'm going to say one because it's not some, that would be repeat, in the sense of they have lots of areas that they use machine learning models because they're a previous client, and they will be iteratively training. So it's like their data set grows every month they will be adding to their model, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what we want to focus on. We want to get kind of repeat business from enterprise because we think that's where the real money is. Obviously individuals, it stacks up, 3,000 customers is great, but the enterprise is where the large models are going to be trained, where they're going to be trained every week, and yeah, that's kind of where we're moving.
So what do you say to them to allay their fears that the data is sacrosanct and no one else can have a little gander at it, etc.?
Yeah, so at the moment we can't, is the truth. We can say things like there's no incentive for miners to look at these things, why would they do that kind of stuff. But honestly, it's a bunch of hand waving. It doesn't, for enterprise clients, that's not enough. They need to have they need to know where they can trust gradients. They could trust Rayon, for example, but they can't trust that we've just given it to 50 different people or 20 different people all over the world who are in some aspects trying to beat an incentive system in order to get reward. It doesn't really amount to what the security that they need. So 5.0 essentially means that the miners will upload their scripts and we will run the infrastructure in the short term. And if we run the infrastructure, then they can have trust that then they only have to trust us, which is still a bit of a jump, but it's not, we're giving this to a bunch of people we don't even know who they are or what they're doing. Trust us. And then the final part 3 of that is to move that onto shoots, where we do.
I was going to say with their T's.
Exactly with T. So that's the 1, 2, 3 steps that we're taking that we expect to complete in the next 6 months or so.
I was going to say that because I've spoken with a fair few CEOs and CTOs from insurance companies and law firms, and they all want to get some sort of AI, thing where they can just upload everything they have, emails to phone call transcripts, everything. But it's that privacy thing, which is that hindrance there, between you and grabbing all of their money, so to speak. So once you can matter of factly go, right, all your data is sacrosanct, blah blah blah, then I think you're going to be swimming in an ocean of profit.
That's the hope and the plan. Yeah, I think you're completely right, and we noticed it very early. As soon as we when we got the last set, the GRPO stuff, we were like, right, let's focus on bringing clients in. And I had a backlog of clients. I thought we'll start there because that makes sense for me to do it. And the boundary that we're hitting, even though they trust me because they've worked with me, was still we need to know. I trust you, Chris, or Rayon. I could go with that, but to give that to a bunch of miners, we need some more evidence here. We need something we can trust. And
two questions: how far away are you from having that whole T set up with shoots to do all that? And do you have contracts lined up?
So the stage 1 is 5.0 is released on the 21st of July. Now the the thing we have to wait for is we have to wait for parity between the performance of what we have at the moment, which is black box, and 5.0. Because if the performance isn't there, the clients that we've got lined up, they're not gonna. That we need to prove that is the first step, and then if we do, then yes. But that is pure verbal, pure with people that I know. So I don't want to pretend that we've kind of got all these wonderful contracts all lined up and it's definitely sitting ducks in a row. But for us, even if they didn't come through, which they will, this needs to happen. This needs to happen in Bittensor in general. We need to move to a place where large enterprise can trust the things that we're doing. And so 5.0 release on 21st, parity. We're moving the whole incentive structure to say you need to get parity. We're basically going to reduce the amount of emission on the old version, the one we have at the moment, and move it essentially all onto the new version and expect parity between the two. So I'm hopeful for a month, but it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be a week. It would be guessing if I said that I knew definitely it's going to be that timescale. And then once that's done, it's going to be a conversation with John about moving that onto shoots, because that's not my expertise. So
Okay. So I'm not going to say names or anything, but there's a good learning point here. So I know of 2 subnets that do very similar, if not the same thing. And there is a client that wanted that particular service. And there's one subnet which is actually a little bit better at providing that service. But the client actually ended up going with the other one. And the main reason being is that the let's call it the better subnet didn't have, let's say, a business team behind it. They didn't have someone that, a customer relationship manager or all that sort of, or BDM or whatnot. Whereas the other team, which was smaller and, let's say, not as good, won the business, getting the revenue because they had basically they're more business savvy. They responded to the emails like that. They were actually, developing relationships with the money spender. So do you have a team that will be obsessed with the business side?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, team is no. So we have one person at the moment that is obsessed with the business side. The aim is that once 5.0 is in and we're satisfied that the technical side is done and dusted, because we have, we can move towards employing more. Is basically that's going to be our entire focus. Because technical stuff for us at past 5.0, I think we've achieved everything that we need to achieve on the technical side. There's going to be some minor tweaks here and there, but we can move the revenue to be focused on spending, the subnet costs, to be on the business side, because that's essentially everything that we need to be focusing on.
Do you have anyone on the team at the moment that's focused on marketing or doing anything that's pushing marketing?
No. So we have a community manager, but I'm not sure that counts as marketing. So the flat answer is no. It's
because you're running on
focused. It hasn't been the focus. The focus has been, let's get the technical. I've had the conversation with the guys, and then once we're there, 100%, that's where we need to go.
And how sustainable are you then? Because you're running on that bit of a shoestring. Are you going to be able to get through to when the revenue starts to flood in?
I mean, so we're in a fortunate position that we've built, because we have been very well supported by the community. We have a large amount of alpha that we have accumulated, and so our staking rewards essentially cover the costs of people, servers, etc. So what that means is that we are sustainable through staking. So it means that we don't need to spend the revenue. The revenue is going to be put back into the alpha, but the staking is what is sustaining us,
Nice.
because we've been fortunate.
What percentage of real world revenue will go into alpha?
We've got an announcement, I think today or tomorrow, so I'm going to ruin it, but it's 100%. So all of it goes back in. Because like I said,
Hey.
we're sustainable just with the staking. So as long
Yeah,
as we're
yeah.
sustainable with the staking, we can't promise that's always going to be the case, that we will never
Yeah,
have to take anything out. But at the moment we are, and so yeah, it's
So
it's a
all
case
of the
of,
revenue from the 3,000 customers last month is going to be used to buy alpha.
exactly, yeah.
And what is that, buyback and burn, buyback and lockup for a future DAO? Like, how are you
That's
going
a
to?
good question. I'm pretty sure it's buyback and lock up, because we quite enjoying the staking rewards.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the.
Okay. And so you with these? Sorry for all the. If we ask anything that's too probing, please just say. I'm just asking because I'm just curious. So with these
Right.
3,000 customers, like, what is the average revenue per client at the moment? Is it that 250?
No. The 250 is that's where we're going pricing next stage. At the moment,
For
we're at $5 an hour, and some of those,
five.
I'm not even going to say some. The majority of those are a 1 hour job of an image job,
Okay,
or
got it.
half or something. So this isn't. We're not talking hundreds of thousands here. We're talking tens of thousands.
Cool. Nice.
But starting
Yeah.
point, that's the way we're looking at it. I mean, we started taking revenue a month and a half ago. We've got some revenue. It's yeah.
Mm.
But we've learned a lot, I guess. It's the other thing you learn, what enterprise clients want very quickly. And that's the thing that we really wanted to get down to. So we're excited about the prospects with 5.0.
Definitely.
Fingers crossed.
Is there a particular person or organization that would be really helpful to you right now if they're watching this and they reached out? Who could help you to overcome the challenge or to accelerate things?
I think it would be a case of, to be honest, it's on the marketing side. We don't want to pretend that I have any background in marketing. Nam, same thing. Like, we are very technical, savvy people, and I think Nam has proven that he's got a great business acumen that's natural. But when it comes to marketing and launching into relatively established markets and taking those forward, that isn't our expertise. So we're going to have to bring people into that. And if there's an organization that helps in that sort of domain and sort of area, definitely be open to talking to them.
Yeah, because Gradients is, you guys have been firing constantly. Like, you're one of the better subnets out there. You guys are amazing, but not many people have heard of you or know what you do, like, outside of Bittensor. So getting those eyeballs is pretty important. And do you think the not being docs is going to be a bit of a hindrance for getting enterprise clients? Because I think you and Nam are, not doxed. I'm not quite sure.
It's the terminology. Yeah, I know Nam is that way inclined. I'm not that strongly. You see my face. It's more of a. I think you're only missing the name here, and my name is on the paper that we released, so it's not that I'm. It's more that just wondering makes people know what that is. If I say my real name, which is Chris, people will go, "Oh, who's this guy?" Hi. So, but yeah, I do agree. When it comes to the larger enterprise clients, I don't talk to my enterprise clients as wandering waits. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because I'm friends with the head of AI of Aviva, and I am constantly towel-pilling him every time we meet. I'm just chipping away at him bit by bit, but every time there's like some sort of objection. But it's always the privacy thing. So
privacy is the
that's
thing.
right. I'm going to reel him in for you. I'm working on him.
Cool. Well, I think we're all wrapped up there. We're nearly at our 15-minute self-imposed deadline, which is always laughable. But that has been very, very useful. I had less of an idea what Gradients was all about, and I feel like you've inadvertently let slip all of your forthcoming announcements.
I know I'm going to get in so much trouble with now. I'm going to go back.
You're going to be in big trouble.
You heard it
But
here
we
first.
appreciate it. We appreciate it very, very much. You were our second revenue stream of the day and our final one. We haven't got another one now for almost 24 hours. What have we got, Siam?
Yeah. So Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, then 1 on Friday. And then Mark, you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So we've got our webinar tomorrow night. This is a very different focus, much less technical. This is for people that are considering making investments into Bittensor through DSV Fund. So Siam and I will be running that for about 90 minutes tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on Wednesday. dsvfund.com/webinar to register if you're interested in joining us on that. It will go out live. It will be longer than 15 minutes and it will be interesting. But yeah, that draws a line to revenue stream for today. Revenue search for today. Our live stream of revenue search. So many words, aren't there?
And Chris, it's been amazing seeing you face to face, and I'm rooting for Gradients. So
Thanks, guys. Lovely to be here. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
cheerio, folks. Bye.